you totally fed up with arriving to find your chargers absolutely crowded or on occasions totally full and you have to queue? Would you rather turn up and find one of the busiest chargers in the UK, featured on BBC News for long queues of Teslas, actually totally empty? Have you had enough of high prices and unreliable chargers? Dave takes it on, has spent the month on the road again, finding out where and when to charge with little or no queues, the best reliability, the highest power, and the lowest prices in the UK. Plus, there's been a massive growth in multiple chargers being installed, with some motorway services now fielding over 30 chargers. Find out where. Or based on viewer feedback, we've introduced chapters, so if you just want to find out the latest prices and offers for your favourite charging network, or how I have never had to queue at all this year in hundreds of charging sessions, then just skip to that chapter. For you others, please keep watching. There's so much to discover. Well, Osprey leads off the review this month. They're not a favourite of mine purely because of the price. All their charges are a hefty 79 pence per kilowatt hour, puts them right up there amongst the dearest in the UK. Now they get a good mention here because all the rest of what they're doing is heading in the right direction. They are installing multiple chargers, up to 16 per location, like at Buckfast down in Devon on the A38, a great location, and many of the chargers are 100 and 150 kilowatts, and they're installing Kempower chargers. Well, these have very quickly built up a great reputation in the States. My experience from using them is they're good, reliable and fast. Plus, they provide masses of data for us tech nerds on the charger screen and even more via a QR code. Hopefully, as people use them less, they will realise that all the other major players are far cheaper and they will drop their prices. You don't get many queues when you're charging 79p for charging. Well, Instavolt seem to be on a similar mission. Yes, there are lots of twin installations in smaller shop car parks, but multiple units in hubs elsewhere. They charge a very slightly better 75 pence per kilowatt hour, not cheap enough, but on the right track. Their units are a right mixture, seem to be whatever the supplier has when they ring up, and they're mostly 50 kilowatt for locally installed and 100 and 125 for the installed in their hubs. Reliability is now rather good, and at this high price you don't find that many queues even at the 50 kilowatt chargers. They offer no memberships to reduce that price. Well, Gridserve won my Gold Star Award last month, and rightly so. They have just received funding of £500 million from really big name investors. And that sort of investment says two things. Well, first, the big investors now see EV charging as a profitable investment. And second, that Gridserve are worthy of that size of investment. Wherever I go, I see new Gridserve installations. Most are large, multiple units, up to 12 at a time, and most are now the 350 kilowatts. Yet they have held down the prices to a very reasonable 69 pence per kilowatt hour. They've also reported that they will soon be offering a membership which would reduce that for regular users. The units are now almost all new, and the older ones, some still operating on motorway services, are due for replacement this year. They really are going places and seem in many areas to have teamed up with Tesla. In Rugby Moto M6, Swansea Moto M4, T-Bay M6 and Hilton northbound M6, they're installing right alongside Tesla's superchargers. And this is a really terrific move, and I hope it spreads. It really helps. When you get 12 Tesla V3 250 kilowatt and 12 Gridserve 350 kilowatt on the same site, plus they have a habit of leaving the old existing 50 kilowatt chargers in operation, you get up to 30 chargers at a single location. In Rugby Moto Services M6, there are already 12 Teslas and 12 Gridserve, and there's much work going on. It looks like Tesla will be adding another 12 chargers, and we hold our breath to see if they're the old V3s at 250 kilowatt or the first of the V4s, which are likely to be 350 kilowatts. Now, down in Cornwall, services at Roach on the A30, Gridserve have just installed a really novel solution. All around the country I find chargers just sitting there waiting to be connected to the grid, which is completely out of their control. The grid is swamped and overwhelmed with requests. It must be really sad to install 12 brand new high-powered chargers and not be able to turn them on. Come on, UK government, get moving, you're being judged. At Roche, they waited for an upgraded grid connection, but rather than sit back and wait, they've removed the old 50 kilowatt units and installed 350 kilowatt units. And now at first glance that seems utterly ridiculous. There's nowhere near enough power to run them. But wait. They have added a massive 3.9 megawatt hour grid connected battery and have put in for planning permission for a large solar PV farm right alongside the services. Now, even with the battery at the moment, there is not enough power to run all 6 chargers at 350 kilowatt, but they don't need to. Most people only charge around about 100-150 kilowatt, so the few who can use the full power may well get it. It's a bold move, they're monitoring it carefully, but expect to see more like this where power is limited. Well, just breaking away for a moment, just go back onto charging speed. It is top of the list for comments I receive. Why do I plug into a 350 kilowatt and only get 70 kilowatt? What's going wrong? Well, these are common questions. Sad to say, nothing's going wrong and they're probably working perfectly. Let me explain. People misunderstand maximum power and maximum charging speed. The maximum power is the amount of power that a charger can provide. It can never be exceeded. The maximum charging speed is the maximum speed that your car can accept. It too can never be exceeded. It is built in during the design and build of your car. Once installed, that's it. That's what you've got. You won't get more. Think of it a little like a 3 kilowatt kettle. You can plug that into your house electricity supply, typically 24 kilowatts, or your factory 3-phase 250 or 500 kilowatt supply. It will always take just the 3 kilowatt it's designed to take, and it will always take the same time to boil, no matter where you plug it in. So a Tesla Model S Plaid, rated at 250 kilowatt, plugged into a Gridserve 350 kilowatt, will only ever draw the car's maximum of 250 kilowatts. That's it. But you won't ever quite get that maximum. The actual speed you get is determined not by what the charger can supply or what your car can accept as a maximum, but what your car is programmed to accept. And that is determined by 2 factors, the temperature of the battery and the state of charge. And that is controlled by 1 factor, your car's battery management system. Now, a cold battery will charge very much slower than a nice warm one. An empty battery will charge faster than a nearly full one. You may have noticed once you get above about 75% state of charge, you really get anything much above 40 or 50 kilowatts on any car at any charger. And once you get up to 90%, you're down into the teens. Nothing you can do about it. It's the way the batteries, the chargers and the battery management systems work. Well, Tesla's also on the rampage, installing all over the place. I've already mentioned rugby. Prices vary from site to site, but currently hover around the 37 pence per kilowatt hour. And in places is down to 24 pence per kilowatt hour. Plus, Tesla never installs less than 8 chargers, usually 12 to 16, and where needed, 20 to 24 charging stations per location. Tesla is a very different beast when it comes to charging and superchargers. First, unlike all others, they design and make their own chargers. They only ever make 1 charger model at a time, so they have tremendous economy of scale. Tesla states it pays about 25% of the price to install a charger that all the other networks are forced to pay, just buying their chargers off the shelf. Well, second, Tesla pre-installs 4 chargers onto a pre-prepared and wired concrete block. Installation is really therefore really quick, cheap and easy. You put it on the back of a lorry, you drive it to the site, you drop the block off in its right place, you plug it in, it's working. It's that quick. But their supercharging goes very much further. Don't know if you know, but all Tesla cars are monitored all the time, and all charging sessions are monitored in real time. Tesla writes its own proprietary software. Now imagine this. Tesla knows all the cars in range of each of its chargers. It knows the destination and state of charge of each of those cars, and therefore it can now predict which ones are likely to pull into which charger, when, and what state of charge they will have on arrival. also knows the maximum charging rate of each of those cars, and can also make changes over the air to those cars in real time. So this allows Tesla to predict almost exactly what is going to happen, and this has two major advantages. The first, if a specific car is heading to a charger, the Tesla predicts will be full when it gets there. Not now, maybe in an hour or so, but when it gets there, it can adjust the stop in the route planner and direct the car to use a different charger, still on the same route, still within easy range, but one that is likely to be quiet or empty on arrival. This reduces queues. Also, Tesla can use that software and link it to new car sales and predict which chargers are likely to get overcrowded and when. It can calculate the need for additional chargers and then predict exactly how much use it will get and how much they will make from it. Well, this is stunning technology. I suspect it's very much along the lines of Amazon planning and delivery tracking software. Have you never wondered how they can deliver next day anything you want? Well, it's obvious they predict what you will order and they ship it in advance to a local depot. This is really amazing technology. It does mean, for Tesla's case, that they will rarely build a supercharger where it will not be used to the full, and they will have fewer queues than all other charging networks. No, not no queues. There will be peak times when the cars simply overwhelm the superchargers, but most of the time. Now, if you own a Tesla, here's a vital tip for faster charging and fewer queues. Always use your sat-nav and always tell the car when you're heading to a charger. Even if you use that charger every single day, know exactly where it is. Always tell your car. It can and will help you to charge better and faster. Now, Fastned claims to be growing. Their branding is incredible. That's absolutely beautiful, practical canopy, lovely brown and yellow and black, and it covers you for the sun or the rain, which Tesla now has also started to install. Not the same colours, obviously. But in terms of how many chargers they have, it's not that many, and they are very widely spread out. They have great chargers at most locations, but most common is a dual bay 300 kilowatts, and the price is a really good 69 pence per kilowatt hour, like Gridserve. But there's more. They offer a membership for regular users, which for £9.99 a month, you get a 30% discount. So if we look at a 50 kilowatt charge at a discounted 48 pence, that will save you £10 on its own for a single charge. If you do multiple charges each month, makes this a no-brainer. And there's still more. On their website, they publish a charging speed calculator. Simply enter your EV make and model, and they tell you how fast it can charge on their various chargers. Oh, this is genius. Although not every speed state is completely accurate. Tesla Model S, for example, that's what I've got. It shows you need a CCS adapter and only get 140 kilowatt speed. Well, my older Model S, is true, does have need an adapter, and I do have one. I have to use it, as my car is pre-CCS too. And my maximum speed is 150 kilowatts, pretty close. But I do believe later models S had the CCS2 socket installed, as do all Model 3 and Ys, and basic models charge at 175 kilowatts, not 190 stated, and long range and performance models at 250. Just out of interest, a Porsche Taycan charges at 275 kilowatts at their 300 kilowatt chargers, but a pitiful 50 kilowatts at their others. Well, talking of Porsche Taycan, regular viewers will know that I probably charge dozens of times a month, often just a few kilowatt hours, just enough to get the readings and then photograph and video the session. I often come across people who may be struggling. I'm always willing to help out. And this week, I was able to do just that. I discovered this Porsche Taycan parked in a Tesla supercharger that I know doesn't allow non-Teslas to charge, and it was clearly having trouble. I immediately noticed that the charger flap is on the front right wing, yet he had backed into the charger, which was then on the rear left. Well, the short charger cable was never going to reach. And then I spotted that he'd actually brought his own cable, but that also was too short. So luckily, I had a 3-meter USB extension cable in my car, and I lent that to him and sat back. Now, seriously, this supercharger is at Trentham Gardens in Stoke-on-Trent. It does not allow non-Tesla EVs to charge, and that evening there was a concert. Apparently finding those spaces right next to the venue, which was his right, and refusing to park further away and walk, he blocked up a very busy charger bay for many hours. As I always do, I did go and find the head of security, as the parking here is restricted and monitored, and I reported this. Plus, I've now forwarded the photos to the head office. I really do hope he gets fined. If anyone knows who this arrogant idiot is, please tell him he's now on YouTube. On a lighter note, if you spot something, good or bad, funny or serious, on your travels, and it is safe to do so, please take a photograph or video and forward it to me. I show the email address here and also put it in the description below. I will select the best for including at the end of some of our future videos, and the winner will appear in our September UK EV charging price and power review. Thank you for everyone who's already supported us. And also, we now have a Patreon membership on offer. Our latest member is Tom Davison. Welcome, Tom. Thank you very much for supporting us. Now, membership for you others starts at just £3 a month, and there are full details below. Well, sorry, let's get back to Fastned. There's still more. Gridserve promoted it, but Fastned just got there first. They offer their auto charge. Enter your details into the app. Yeah, I'm afraid you need to use the app to set it up, but just the once. Once it's set up, you simply plug in your car, and the charger will recognise your car, recover your payment details, and start the charging session automatically. That's a leaf out of Tesla's book, who've had this going for over 10 years. So absolutely great story from Fastned. Thank you. If only they could get their act together and install many, many more chargers. Best of luck, Fastned. Now, Geniepoint fall into the Osprey camp, but their prices are even more ridiculous, some of them at over 85 pence per kilowatt hour, and none that I can find less than 79 pence. But they are on a massive installation programme all over the country. Some Morrisons supermarkets now have 300 kilowatt ultra-rapid chargers. 300! Yeah, you can top up any car while you do your weekly shop, but any savings you hope to make using a supermarket will be destroyed by those high prices. If you take the 50 kilowatt hours during a weekly shop on Geniepoint at 85p, you'll spend £8 more than at Gridserve and £24 more than at a Tesla supercharger, and an incredible £36 more than charging at home. Now, I'm not sure what business model they're working to, but I've never seen a queue at Geniepoint chargers. In fact, I can't remember the last time I saw one in use. Well, with those prices, they're unlikely to have queues forming. Unlikely even to get people charging more than once. The installation programme is brilliant. Well, maybe they could pass it on to Fastned, and Fastned could pass back on to them pricing data. Bringing people together. Geniepoint can't continue at these prices. Let's see what happens and when. Well, Ionity sees little change, an extra 2 chargers since last month's report, and no change in their 74 pence per kilowatt hour. This is too high. But they do offer now their Passport. For £10.99 a month, that price reduces to just 56 pence per kilowatt hour. So, using our 50 kilowatt charge example, you save £9 after a single charge, obviously £18 after 2. This is another no-brainer for those who travel. Again, way too few and too far between. Install more, please. Ring Gridserve to find out how. Again, just as an aside, let's put all this into perspective. PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, the global accountancy and consultancy giant, has produced several reports recently regarding EVs, charging and the future. Check them out, there's some links down below. But to summarise the important bits, 72% of homeowners have off-street parking and can charge at home. The average UK driver covers only about 8,000 miles a year. That's 140 miles a week. So I calculate that to mean that one single overnight charge a week on a 7 kilowatt home charger, or maximum 2 a week plugged into an external waterproof 13 amp socket, is all you need. So where do all these idiots who claim you can't find a charger, they're all broken, the huge queues, whole EV thing will collapse, ridiculous prices, where do they get their data from? Most EV owners will only ever charge at home, will only ever need to do once or twice a week, and most never have to use public chargers. Now, for those of us who travel further, just accept that you will pay more when away and take comfort from knowing that the average price for off-peak overnight home charging is well under 10 pence per kilowatt hour, making driving less than 3 pence a mile, compared to a petrol car doing 50 mile per gallon paying 13 pence a mile. I'm going to give here my actual figures over the last 12 months courtesy of the Tesla app. I covered just over 20,000 miles. I use superchargers regularly on my long trip. My average figures is 68% home charging, 28% supercharging, and 4% free destination charging. Yes, free chargers are still out there. Just have to find them. No, I'm not telling you where. I paid, all totalled up, £1,430 for 6,276 kilowatt hours, averaging just 21 pence per kilowatt hour. That makes my motoring 7 pence a mile. Now, Model 3 or Y would be doing over 4 miles per kilowatt hour, so they'd be paying about 5p. That is way less than half the cost per mile that a car at 50 miles a gallon using petrol could achieve. Enough said. Anyway, back to pricing. AppleGreen. Well, regular viewers will know that I find them totally baffling. By the way, if you are a regular viewer and you haven't subscribed, please do so. It makes such a huge difference to our channel. Well, I say our. We're not a big company. It is me and my eldest lad, Jonas, and we use our own cars, video equipment and money for charging, plus the countless coffees and donuts. Your support would be very welcome. Anyway, for a giant company funded by their massive US operations of motorway services and fossil fuels, they seem to be very shy over here. Their website hasn't changed at all for months, still showing, well, we are the best phrases all over and fantastic artists' impressions. And their app, well, that shows my nearest AppleGreen charger to be 45 miles away. I know that's not true. It's 4 mile away. And their price is 79 pence per kilowatt hour. Again, one of the dearest. Well, I keep hoping to see or hear a great press release and launch, but nothing ever seems to happen. They seem to have taken over a number of really old 50 kilowatt chargers at the motorway service locations that they've acquired and then just run them with little or no change. Now, some viewers have reported new chargers being installed, but I have yet to see one. Maybe one day. In the meantime, fossil fuel funded, 79p says it all. Avoid it if you can. Well, talking of fossil fuel giants, BP Pulse plods on. I consider this a very mixed bag. Does anyone know where they are heading, business-wise? Well, they charge 79p for their 50 kilowatt chargers and a simply embarrassing, recently increased 85 pence for their ultra-rapid. 150 kilowatt? Who considers 150 kilowatt ultra-rapid these days? But saving grace is their membership, just £7.95 a month. That reduces that to 63p for all. Okay, but there is more, because their current membership gives the first month free. Then you get a £9 a month credit for the next 5 months. So, doing the sums, you pay 5 times £7.95, which is £39.75 over the first 6 months, and you get back £45. You made a profit and free membership. But after that, it's still expensive. A discounted 63p doesn't look so good against 48p for Fastned, 69p for Gridserve with no membership, and 24p for Tesla with no membership. After the first 6 months, the savings for a single 50 kilowatt charge would be £10 versus a £7.95 membership fee. Well, BP Pulse is installing 3 absolutely massive EV charging hubs in and around London to cater for the rapidly growing taxi, private hire and rideshare vehicles, all of which must by law be EVs by 2025. That's a great move. But they are still on the dear side. Remember, you still have to pay the £7.95 a month after the first 6 months. I'd suggest if this is your nearest and most reliable charger locally, then membership would make sense. But on a personal note, I hate the fossil fuel giants, so cannot recommend them. Try charging at home if you can, or find a Gridserve which offers totally green renewable energy. Once again, there are plenty of other charger networks, smaller ones I've missed out, the likes of EV, Vive, EV, oh, no idea. Or clean energy EVs, smaller ones, particularly common up in Scotland. I will cover these in future if they survive and install reasonable numbers of good chargers. However, they are unlikely to survive. They've all started up on the back of huge government grants, but are finding that people simply do not pay the generally very high prices in sufficient numbers to make it a viable business going forward. What a crazy saying. What other way would you go? Anyway, it's sad but true, but a good side is someone might take over their chargers and then set sensible prices. Okay, getting there. How do I avoid queuing? Almost done. I have noticed a huge growth in installations and offers, and the picture is very encouraging, but I still see queues. And here I have absolutely no sympathy whatsoever. I have charged hundreds of times this year, and I can honestly say I have never once queued up to charge. Not once. Regular viewers might well remind me, I did a video recently where I pulled up to find the local Ionity 6-bay 350 kilowatt chargers totally full. But that was different. I got there at the busiest time specifically so I could film a full charger station. I actually didn't need to charge. So why don't I queue up to charge? Well, it's exactly the same reason I don't shop in Tesco's at 5 o'clock on a Friday night. It's absolutely heaving. There are no parking spaces, no trolleys, and there are massive queues at the tills. Well, this supermarket thing dates back decades. Back to when we used to get a weekly pay packet on a Friday. Yeah, actual cash, notes and coins in a brown wage envelope. With that, most people shopped on the way home, 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on the Friday, to get the food in for the weekend. That was then. We all now get paid, almost all electronically, direct into our banks, and mostly once a month. And the supermarkets are open 7 days a week, and most nights until 10 p.m, some are 24 hours. So why are there still queues at Tesco between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. every Friday? Is it habit? We've always done it, so we always will. I don't think so, because many of the people I see queuing are in their 20s and 30s, and they've probably never had a pay packet with cash in it weekly in their lives. What about herd mentality? Well, no other possible time to shop. Need to get food in for the weekend, even if you're going out on a Friday? I actually don't know. See, there's no reason I can see for it. If you go to the supermarket at 7 o'clock on a Friday night or 10 o'clock on a Thursday morning, they're empty. No queues, whiz round, shelves full. Well, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, the survey backs this up when it says the most likely time to charge an EV is between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. Now, I had a viewer comment recently that someone he knew spent hours queuing up at a charger on the way home once or twice a week and finally got rid of his EV because he gets fed up with it. Peak time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. That means that these people are fighting the queues and paying premium rates, often also reaching charging station power capacity and having power throttling on all the chargers. Tesla sets their peak rates higher between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m, specifically to try to deter people queuing. The demand on the grid is huge, but people just pay the premium and then complain about queuing. What is going on? Now, my opening video and this one were taken off-peak at very busy superchargers. The first is T-Bay on the M6 in the Lake District. Last year, this was headline news on the BBC on Bank Holiday weekend, with massive queues of Teslas several hours long, complaining they can't get home and how ridiculous this charging and queuing is. I arrived at 8 a.m. this Bank Holiday Monday, and I was the only car there. Others didn't really begin to arrive till about 11 a.m. Hilton M6 northbound also gets very busy. Yet here we are at dusk. Again, I'm the only car there. I have dozens of photos of chargers, charging stations, where I am the only car. I often get quite lonely. Well, my rule is very simple. Never charge at peak time. Don't want to pay the premium. Now, for example, if I'm staying away in a hotel, which I do quite often, and get there at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, I park, check in, then go and get a meal. Once I've finished, later, I then go and find a charger, one with a Starbucks or a Costa, and then sit and have a relaxing coffee and sticky bun. for the 15 or 20 minutes needed to charge. If there isn't one nearby, I'll set off 10 or 20 minutes early the next day and stop off, maybe 8 or 10 o'clock in the morning, depends when I set off, and then find the superchargers are totally deserted, and then have my coffee and donuts there. Well, I'm sorry if I haven't revealed the magic formula so you never have to queue. Sorry if I've just upset you. I just use common sense. Plus, if I didn't or couldn't charge at home and did average mileage, I would nip down to my local Tesla supercharger at midnight just once a week and enjoy that incredible 24 pence per kilowatt hour cut price off peak rate while playing games on the screen or reading for 15 minutes. That works out at 6 to 8 pence per mile at a supercharger. Half the price of Tesla peak rate and half the price of petrol cars doing 50 miles to the gallon. Just think about charging. There are very few of us who can't adapt our lifestyles just slightly to totally avoid queues altogether. And absolutely no excuse if you only need to charge once a week. Just pick the right time. Even the busy rep on the road can adjust. If he or she starts each day with a full charge, they will not even need to stop during the day, even if they have a very busy day. If they set off on the journey with just 80 miles range left, it's guaranteed they will need to stop and charge, and probably at a peak time. Can anyone here see why people queue? I would love your comments. Hi, I'm Dave, and thanks for making it through to the end. If you like this video, please subscribe and hit the like button and leave any comments you have below. If you would like to support us financially, please consider becoming a Patreon member. Details of that are below.